This is video 2. We're going to take a look at calling the stored procedure with just a slightly different technique, but the behavior will be the same. When you click on the row, you'll get the JavaScript prompt box. You enter the year. It returns the annual sales for that given customer. Just take a quick look at what the difference is. We'll take a look at the JavaScript row event. In this case, we're calling do callback underbar v2 instead of do callback underbar v1. And let's go look at that function declaration. The difference being that we're populating this JavaScript variable cust underbar ID with this line of code. So we use the grid.object reference and we get the value directly from the grid of the customer ID. We put it into that JavaScript variable. And then if you just look at the syntax, it's going to be slightly different here because we're passing these two variables to our XBasic function, and we're not referencing directly through the row and the field name directly through the E object. So let's go back up and look at the XBasic. So here's the XBasic, and if we look at the version 1, here we populated cust ID with e.underbar current row data new.customer ID, and in our new version we've passed cust ID as a parameter and we reference it right here with e.cust ID, and e.year is being also passed, and we did that same thing also in our first function. So that's really the only difference. I just wanted to show you there are multiple ways of executing and calling that stored procedure. Another thing I want to point out is this note right here. Below I've set each parameter with a value. And the reason that I did this is the reference in the stored procedure itself. Because here I'm presenting the arguments and they're not in the order they were defined in the stored procedure. So if we go back and we look at the stored procedure, you'll notice that cust ID is first and year is second, and that's in our first function. What we did was we just passed in the arguments because they were in order, so you can do that. But when they're not in order, you need to reference the actual variable and set that with the argument. So that's what we've done right here. Okay, the next thing I wanted to do was we'll take a look at this component running in Firefox with Firebug. So what's going to happen here, I'm going to go ahead and clear that. When we click on a row, we'll get all of our normal behavior, but we can see the callback occur with Firebug. And now I'm going to go ahead and expand this, and we can look at the response. So here we can actually see the JavaScript that's being generated from our callback. This can just be really, really helpful when you need to debug your JavaScript that you're sending back to the browser. So you can look at what you post. This is what Alpha will send to the server, and then this is what's coming back. So once again, this can just be really helpful in case you're not sending back the appropriate JavaScript.